Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Bootka on Blitz, and today we'll be having a look at the Kpz70. I'm going to start with some live gameplay and follow it up with a replay and finally the armor profile. As we enter this battle, I'll just talk about the tank. Do I like the tank? I think it's a great tank. I'd place it third out of the 4 tanks currently for sale in the bundle, but that's just my preference. I find the K91 an easy tank to play with due to its great DPM. I love the clip potential, the strong armor profile. This tank has a nice strong armor profile, but you've got to sort of angle it and position it warily on the battlefield. I'm going to trade with this T30, and that's another good thing about the tank. When you do trade, it's not going to be awful because you have 560 alpha, and that's one of the key attributes of this tank. It's a peekaboo playstyle with that 560 alpha. It's got decent penetration, but it's more so about the alpha damage on a tier 9 heavy tank. It's the highest at the tier, and so, like I said before, you can trade really well. See if we can get a shot. Can't get a shot, and the turret armor on the tank is particularly strong. I think I'm going to struggle with the 6 degrees of gun depression here. Yes, I should probably just fire. Okay, nice 5.46. What else do I like about the tank? I really like the look of the vehicle. I think that in Blitz we focus a lot on how the tank performs, etc. But the tank looks really cool, and I think it's based on the Kpz70, which was a project between the Americans and West Germans during the Cold War. I think it was around the 60s, and they set to develop the next generation of main battle tanks. What got me into the game in the first place was my passion for history and mainly the fighting vehicles, aircraft and tanks. But enough about my interests. Let's get back to the tank. The tank also struggles with DPM, like I mentioned at the start. It's only running 1900 damage per minute. You do have 240 millimeters of penetration on your APCR, which isn't great when you compare it to something like the K91, which is 260, but that's running gun rammer. You usually run the not gun rammer, the calibrated shells. Usually run calibrated shells instead of vents, because vents don't really seem to give you that much on an autoloader when you gain quite a lot from calibrated shells. Heat pen 305, it is pretty low, and you will struggle to go through tanks at higher tiers, but the tank performs well against tier 8s. Doesn't have seen that many issues. Additionally, that armor profile is strong against tier 10s. As you saw in the previous game, that chieftain was struggling to pen me with his standard rounds, and probably with his premium rounds as well. So as you can see in this game, getting to that Hulldown position, and even with only 6 degrees of gun depression, you can definitely make this vehicle work. Looking for the HE here, you've got 640 alpha with the HE, even though this is a 152mm gun. However, you do have 90 millimeters of penetration, and I think sometimes people forget that on this vehicle. Just because it only has 560 alpha, it still has the 90 millimeters of penetration you get with the HE. So as you can see, that Tiger 2 struggling to get through. The WZTD on their team doesn't seem to have too many issues, but we managed to give him a dose of this alpha. I'm telling the mediums to push here because we're currently holding this center, and I'm not sure how much longer we can hold it. Up to 2000 damage so far, not too bad. It doesn't struggle if you manage to connect all your shots. When you start to miss or bounce shots, then the damage is quite hard to get out. Probably should have fired there, but it's actually a good job I didn't wait here, and then with the HE managed to get a nice HE shot in there. Didn't actually roll that high. Probably would have done more with my standard rounds. What else about the tank? Yeah, 6 degrees of gun depression, you do struggle a bit, but you can make it work. This position here, KV5's got all sorts of problems, both trying to get his gun down and penetrate me. Tiger 2, just trying to bait him. He's having none of that either. We can't pen because the upper places of the tank is pretty strong. And I'll talk about the numbers and figures for that when we go into the armor profile. There you go, have to switch to that heat pen, and he hits us for 320, but we're dishing out on average 480 with that heat. Pop the adrenaline here up to 3.5k. Very nice so far. 252U, don't mind trading with him. He's firing APCR by looks of things, and we get hit for 574, so up to 4k now. Nice game here. What else to talk about the tank? Well, obviously with the APCR you got pretty nice velocity, 920 meters per second. Switch the heat there, finish him off. Aim time, it's not too bad for a big caliber gun at 1.87, which is actually better than something like the Kpz70 at tier 9, which is 460 alpha. Dispersion 0.34, not the best, but nor is it the worst. Again, better than that Kpz111, but not as good as the K91. The credit coefficient of the vehicle is not the best, but it's not the worst either. They're all at around 140% credit coefficient with the tier 9 premium vehicles. As you can see there, only 30,000 credits. We're going to have a look finally at the armor profile of the tank to show you why I like to use the vehicle in the Hulldown position and why it is so strong there. And have a look at the weak spots, how to take the tank out effectively if you do come up across one. So frontally, the vehicle has 224mm of effective thickness. It's not great frontally, it might bounce on tier 8, but the way to increase that armor profile is if you angle it sort of 20 degrees. And that thickness goes up to around 250mm. On the lower glacis you have effective thickness of 254 when you angle it, so it becomes quite troll. And as you can see, I always go back to the Russian medium analogy of that. When you angle it quite severely and you don't expose that front drive wheel, you can get auto ricochets. The front two drive wheels are particularly weak, and it's a bit like the E5 in that if you slightly over angle it, the way to take it out if you can't pen the front glacis is to shoot that front drive wheel, which only has effective thickness of 183mm, and you should be able to go through that no problem at all. The turret arm of the vehicle, on the left hand side, it has a particular weak spot. It only has 169mm of effective thickness, and that's where it becomes weak, but you negate that by moving backwards and forwards, which makes it difficult to hit. In terms of heat pen, you're going to be needing more than 330mm of heat pen to get through the sides of the turret armor, and as you can see in this held down position, when you're just showing that turret, it is really quite strong. There are small cupolas on the top, but they're very, very difficult to hit. And in terms of HE, the tank, if you have a Hesh gun, you can shoot the sides, which have 104mm effective thickness. The rear is quite weak at 62mm, but where you can actually penetrate it is between the tracks and that top bit of armour, which unfortunately I hit the drive sprocket so that the HE detonated and only did splash damage, but here you'll see this is an actual penetration because I actually aimed in carefully. If the tank is not flush, then you're most probably not going to pen the HE, so I would advise only if you've got time and the armor panel is flat on, then take the shot. I think that about wraps it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.